Ready to go? I call this meeting of Sylvania City Council for August 19th, 2024 to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Fry?
Here.
Mr. Hanson?
Here.
Mr. Hayden?
Here.
Mr. McCann?
Here.
Mr. Richardson?
Here.
Ms. Stout? Here. Mrs. Westphal? Here.
All 7 members of City Council are present, therefore a quorum does exist. We welcome you all to our council meeting this evening. There are still, I see, a few agendas over there on the side table if you haven't picked one up and you need one. We do have a number of speakers tonight. We've put all the speaking parts at the front end of the agenda. And I warn you, there will be an executive session after, as agenda item number 9, which I'm going to, Dana, ahead of you. I'm sorry. There's a speaker for us in that executive session. Okay. With that, I invite you all to join in our Pledge of Allegiance, this meeting led by Mrs. Westphal.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Additions to the agenda. We do have a long agenda tonight, but I don't have any additions to put onto it. Mr. Fry.
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Members of City Council. Seeing none, I'll look over to staff. Mr. Sanford.
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Chief Miller.
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Schroyer is on vacation this week, so he's not here. Mr. Shaw.
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
And Ms. Briney.
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, with that, is there a motion to approve the agenda as submitted?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries and the agenda for tonight's meeting is approved. Agenda item 4 is approval of our meeting minutes from our last meeting on July 15th. Mr. Fry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move adoption and approval of the meeting minutes from the council meeting of July 15, 2024 as submitted.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve those meeting minutes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries and those meeting minutes are approved. On to agenda item 5. I'm pleased to welcome to our council chambers our new Toledo-Lucas County Health Department Commissioner, Kareem Baroudi. He has spoken to me previously in the mayor's office, but we invited him back to be here tonight. And while he's coming up, I'd like to recognize our representative to the Health Board, Dr. Mon, who's doing a terrific job. We appreciate it. Mr. Baroudi.
Mr. Mayor, President of the Council, thank you for having me today. I'm here briefly. I know you have a full agenda for tonight, but I'm here briefly to introduce myself and as the newest public servant in Lucas County, serving the capacity of a health commissioner. I'm not new to public health. I've been in public health for the last 25 years since I started living in Sylvania. So I'm a Sylvania resident, proud of it.
And you lived here even when you were the health commissioner?
That is correct. That is correct. So I served in different capacities as a commissioner in Hancock County for 8 years. I served at the state health department as well for 4 years. But it all started at Toledo-Lucas when I started back in 2001, right after finishing college. I raised a beautiful family here in Sylvania, a boy and a girl. My boy is in Pittsburgh, finishing his PhD in neuroscience. And my little girl is down in Columbus, she finished her second year, started her third year. We moved her back in Columbus last Wednesday and went well. And she's doing public health, epidemiology. My wife is also a public servant. She serves at the Sylvania schools. And she was really glad, and we're still celebrating from her nominated to be Educator of the Year last Wednesday, and she made it. Thank you. So we are a family of proud servants here, especially in Sylvania, our hometown. That's what we call it, and we're proud of that. Again, I thank you for the time. I'm here to introduce myself. I'm here to make myself available to all of your constituents. I'm sure you have a lot of questions, health questions. I did talk to the mayor earlier, with the help of Dr. Monk, we kind of explained a little bit what we do. I did give you, so I will be brief tonight, I gave you like our annual report, We have 100+ services and programs that go out of our offices, at the health department. We touch so many lives in so many ways every day that we are really determined on serving well and bringing healthy communities. In the actual report, just a synopsis of how many hours we spent in Sylvania last year. That's compared to other communities on the flip side of that page. But it tells you what kind of services we serve here in Sylvania. From our food safety program, obviously, is the biggest. Best known for the health department is the restaurant inspections. I'm sure you hear a lot about those. But there's a lot more that we do, from vaccinations, from our outreach to schools, from public swimming pools program, a whole bunch of stuff. But moving forward, I wanted to come in here and talk to you to make sure we engage City Council in all the communities we serve in promoting public health. Public health is very important. Without public health, we don't have a lot of other stuff. So it's the foundation. I'm open to, I did, stapled my card to the front page as well of that report. Please reach out with any initiatives you would like to do in your the districts you are representing, anything you would like to do to your residents and to your constituents as well. I'm open to initiatives. We talked to, the mayor just shared with me that his lowest steps at each day, it's about 10,000. He reached 12,000 steps today, and the day's not done yet. So we're proud of our mayor, I think, and he's leading by example. And I would like for all of us to lead by example as well and show our residents how to be healthy, how to eat healthy, how to live healthy from all sides, so we can have healthy communities and have healthy citizens growing up. Now, that's my introduction here, but I'm open to any questions. If you think of something later and you want to email me or call me, I will be more than happy to serve and help you serve better your constituents. To that extent.
I'll offer one general question. Since becoming our health commissioner, have you instigated any new programs, or do you have any future programs that you're looking to emphasize?
You know what, and you're one of the first cities that I'm visiting here. I did visit the city of Oregon, and I did visit the city of Waterville last week. I think I'm encouraging everybody to kind of start working on initiatives, whether it's healthy initiatives in the restaurants we have, or healthy initiatives on the trails we have, on the parks. We have a lot of resources here for our residents in Sylvania. I think we should put them to good use. My vision is to talk to all the elected officials and all the communities we serve to kind of start some type of a health in all policy. Any policy you guys will come into you and you guys will vote on it. Keep health in mind. Is it a healthy policy? Is it making our constituents healthier? I think if we keep that in mind, we will achieve a lot. My first 3 months in being a commissioner here, I spend a lot of it in assessments, but I think my concern is to reach out to all those, the communities we serve. Not because we're in downtown Toledo, we're exclusively for Toledo. We are here for you as well. And like I said, you have my direct number now. Please, any concerns you hear from your constituents, pass it on, and we'll see how we can help.
I have a question. I see in September, looking at the.
Yep.
Yeah, you're talking about doing an opioid, is this a program about the opioid epidemic in Toledo?
That's
Is that something that's happened or it's going to happen?
That's something that's happened last year in here. But this is a continuing program. We have a lot of resources and a lot of smaller communities, and we don't think that the opioid epidemic is here. It's touching every and each lives. We're a small car ride away. A lot of our residents work in Toledo. A lot of Toledoans come in here to dine and use our recreation. So we are interconnected very closely with Toledo, which is the county seat. To that extent, those services are all over the county. And the Narcan, if you're referring to the Narcan, which is a reversal drug, we made it available. We made it available to everybody. especially to, I had the pleasure to meet the police chief the other day too at the mayor's office. We do, advocate for police and fire to have Narcan on with them too, because we all know about fentanyl. All it takes is just a little bit, and a lot of times you don't have to be a drug user to be overdose with that. Could be a police search, or could be something that we come across with. That's why it's for everybody's protection as well to have Narcan. So we're trying to get Narcan into everybody's hand as much as we can, all over the county.
I happen to be aware of a family that has a adult son who's struggling with opioid addiction, and they're struggling to find help. I may have them give you a call.
Sure, absolutely. We do have a team with a lot of resources.
Okay.
That's the whole idea. It's, we consider.
They're having trouble finding any of those resources.
Yes.
And it's,
And a lot of those resources
Lot
are
of dead
countywide.
ends.
To your point, a lot of those resources are countywide. They're not exclusive to you. Yeah, you're right. So please have them reach out.
I may reach out to you. Thank you.
Absolutely. And maybe one more thing. We're taking our Board of Health on a tour as well. So I think the mayor and city council was kind enough to offer this council chambers for our Board of Health on Thursday. This coming Thursday. So you're all invited to be at the Board of Health. I think we want to encourage your citizens as well to engage with the Board of Health, to see how it works, to see, how they do the business of the health district. We invite all of you to be at that meeting. It's 8:45 in the morning. It will last for a couple hours, but I do invite the citizens of Sylvania as well to be part of that meeting, so they can hear their Board of Health. My feeling as a public servant for 25 years, the closer you are to the people, the better you can serve them. And more so here in Sylvania for me personally, because I drink the water you drink, I eat the food you eat, and I breathe the air you breathe. So we're all in this together, and we're gonna make it better. Thank you so much for the time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Yep, you too.
We'll now move on to agenda item 6. As I'm sure you're aware, we do have a new executive director of Heritage Sylvania, and I'd like to turn to our board member, Lindsay Stowe, to help introduce her.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We actually hired Tristan and Samantha at the end of last year, but we wanted to give them a little bit of time to get their feet under them and be able to get started on some of their new ideas and to be able to come to us and introduce themselves while also showing them some of the fun things that they've been working on. So we've got our new executive director, Sam, here. We've got the assistant director, Tristan. Our board president, Tom Blank, is here, as well as a number of our board members in the back, just to show some extra support for tonight. But I'm very pleased that they have joined, and we have this great fresh energy happening in Heritage Sylvania with a lot of big ideas coming down the road.
Yes, indeed, indeed. Yes, yes. Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Council. Thank you for giving us a little bit of time today. My name's Samantha Ayers. I am the new director at Heritage Sylvania. Quick little background on me. I grew up in downtown Sylvania, right downtown Sylvania. So growing up, I got to watch the village grow into what it is. I got to take the day off school in second grade and watch the depot get moved. I went through the Pioneer program as a kid. And my mom has been involved in Sylvania's history since before I was born.
And your mother is Indian.
Gayleen
Gayleen
Gindy.
Gindy.
Gayleen Gindy. Yes. So I've had history of Sylvania in my life, my whole life. So when this opportunity arose, it was something I could not pass up. So deep-rooted passions with this organization, and I'm very honored to be here. And Tristan?
Yes, I'm Tristan Turkoff. I'm the new assistant director, a new position that we have at Heritage Sylvania, which has been a huge benefit. Again, a little bit about me. So, longtime resident of Sylvania. I moved here starting in first grade, attended Stranahan, went through the program. Pretty familiar with a lot that's been happening in Sylvania. I've actually been working with Heritage Sylvania for about 4 years now. So I started under a previous director and was doing a lot of the programs and some kind of odd end things, but it really fits all of my passions. Right now I'm studying theater production and history with a little bit of education thrown in there as well. So this is kind of checking all the boxes for what I want to do in life.
Very much so, yes. And I'm lucky to have him as, my right hand, and we work really well together.
Agreed.
But so today I wanted to share with you guys some of the exciting things we've done. As Lindsay said, we really wanted to get our feet on solid ground before we start to promote some of these exciting things, but we feel we're ready. We have a lot of things that we've done under our belts and a lot more to come this year. So we feel so fortunate to be a part of this organization that was built on such a solid foundation with Joy and Army, and Army building the village, and Joy with the school programs, which have been fantastic. And then, of course, with Andy coming in after and carrying on that legacy. But now it's our turn, and we feel that we have new, fresh ideas. We have a renewed energy that the organization, I feel, really needs. And we have a lot of big ideas for that. And then, of course, having two people, it gives us more bandwidth to do a lot more than we've done before. So, of course, that's easy to say. How are you going to grow this organization, be so much better? So, a couple things we've done so far. With our school programs, that's always been a long-standing success for this organization. It's known not just in Sylvania, but outside of Sylvania. And those are things we don't necessarily want to change. We don't want to spend too much time changing anything and keep them going as they are. But we've developed an education committee that's helping us to rework some of these programs to make them a little more relevant to today's standards, make them a little more hands-on and less lecture-heavy. So there's a lot of exciting things. And we see actually 3,000 students come through our program every year. So Sylvania, we're trying to get more to yes. Washington Local, we get all Washington Local schools. But we realize that the school programs, while great, and it's our way to give back to the community, it's not a big ticket money maker. It's great, and we don't ever want to get rid of that, but some of our new ideas are ways to continue programming, but with a different audience, where it can bring in some more income for us. So our goal is if you look at our audience, we have children, which come through, so we have the youth, and they get excited, and they share it with mom and dad. And then we have kind of the other end of the spectrum. We have, more senior and older age range, where they just naturally love history. And most of our members, most of our donors are in that ladder. Where we are trying to target now is this age range here, which are the ones that are going out. They're the ones spending money. They're the ones, even if it is a family event, they're the ones that we want to try and get in front of. So a lot of the events that we've been planning and creating and doing have been targeting that market, or at least families, and something, of course, that all ages can participate in. But we've done 3 events of our own events this year that were beyond successful, anything we could have imagined. We have 3 more coming up that we anticipate will be pretty exciting. We have a lot of people. We've kind of snuck in some teasers, and we have a lot of excitement, and we haven't even promoted it really yet. So our goal is to hit every age group through what we have, and of course, keep the history aspect in there. Try to bring them in with some of the fun events and show them how exciting history is. And you really give them a reason to continuously come back. And the biggest thing we've done is in the village. We are starting in spring. We are opening the village to the public every Sunday, which hasn't been done before. Just casually open to the public. Most of the time when families can go see the village, it's during Fall Fest, where there's hundreds of other people around. So now they can, in their own time, go and see the village. And we've been getting consistent traffic, which is great. So in addition to our own events, we've also just began a new partnership with Tree City Market. If you haven't heard of them, they are a group that's actually two sisters. They have about 400 vendors that they work with, and they create vendor events or market events. So we started working with them for Redbird First Friday events, where they would have a small vendor market in the museum backyard, which was a huge success. We had about 13 vendors. It's now grown. That event was just not enough. So we're now doing Saturdays. We're doing on one Saturday a month, Art in the Village, which it takes that same event, expands it into the village. And we have about 35 vendors throughout the village, the museum backyard, carriage house, food trucks, music. Inside the Five has a beer tent set up. So this last event, we had more people in the village in one moment than we probably had all summer last year. So a lot more exposure, which is very, very exciting. A couple other quick things that we've done or we're doing. Lourdes University is known for having fantastic freshman orientation events. I know they did mud hens and they do some other fun things. This year, all the freshmen are going to be doing a history tour of downtown Sylvania that Tristan and I will do. So good for us in that most of our interns and volunteers come from Lourdes. Good for them that they have plenty of volunteer opportunities. So yeah, some good things there. Kind of going away from programming, more campus related. Some of you may have heard that we've been talking and working on a campus improvement project that was put on hold when Andy left, and now that I'm here, we're starting to get things moving again. And we are in the works of putting a platform in the back of the museum backyard that the community can rent out for events, for performances, music, whatever it may be. That is in the works, so that ball is rolling, things are moving, and that is being funded by Heritage Sylvania. And another thing that we're trying to do is work with a fundraiser to do a feasibility study to start preparing for actual fundraising to pay for the rest of the improvement project. And then hopefully that can carry on to doing some things at the Lathrop House as well, which needs some TLC. A little bit. So with some of these things, with the strengthening of our programs, with the expansion of, not expansion, but the, what's the word I want to use? Improved activity in the village. Heritage Sylvania is better and stronger than it's been in a long time, if not ever. So again, with our passion and our excitement for this organization and the things that we're doing, we think that we can do some more pretty big things and really, really shake up this organization, change it in a good way, and be a better impact in the community. So, yeah. But, and I have a folder. Did everyone get a folder? Everyone have one of those? In there I have just a couple documents. I have a little flyer of just kind of what I talked about. I do have a membership brochure as well. Few of you are members, but if anyone is interested in being a member, you will get all of our updates and some exciting things you'll see in that brochure. But yeah, definitely check it out. Any questions for us? Any comments or stories you want to share?
Samantha, you bring a wonderful energy, and Tristan, you are backing her up 100%, and I think it's exactly what the historical or Heritage Sylvania needs at this point in time. The programs sound exciting. I'm disappointed to say that I haven't been yet, and I don't think that I paid close enough attention, but you can be certain that I'll make some of them coming up this fall. Yeah. And I look forward to very good things coming from Heritage Sylvania. Thank you for your work.
Absolutely. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Samantha and members of her board have been in to meet with me and a couple members of my staff and with their board president to take a serious look at the existing relationship between the city and the village and see where we might go to improve that relationship.
Absolutely. Yep.
And that will be probably a years-long endeavor, but it's time to look at that possibility.
Yep. Onward and upward.
Thank you for being here today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll now move to agenda item 7. This has to do with zoning ordinance amendment ZA1 2024 from Material Developers for property at 5142 West Alexis Road. This is a referral to the Planning Commission and also to set a public hearing date. Mr. Hayden, I believe you have a conflict of interest here due to law partners, and we probably need you to push back from the table before we consider this item.
I think that's right. So I request that council authorize me to push back.
Need a motion?
So moved. Second.
Seconded. I need you to call the roll call. Roll call vote? Not necessary. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and let the record show that Mr. Hanem has pushed back from the table and is not a part of this deliberation. Again, this is a referral to the Planning Commission for their review and recommendation, and also to set a public hearing date. I've asked Mr. Hanson, another member of the zoning committee, to go through the actions on this one. The first, a motion to refer to the Planning Commission.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to make a motion to refer the Mercurio Developers Incorporated petition for zoning ordinance application number 1-2024, requesting the zoning change from R3 PD to a B2. I request a motion to move this to the Planning Commission.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and the date of that Plan Commission meeting will be Wednesday, September 11th at 5:30 in these council chambers.
October.
No, September.
Sorry? September, I'm sorry. What did I say?
September, no, you did.
The meeting, the actual meeting.
And then we also need to set a public hearing to keep the process moving along. The clerk proposes Monday, October 7th. That's prior to a council meeting. Probably we wanted to set it at 7 o'clock. Mr. Hanson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a motion to schedule a public hearing regarding the Mercurio Developers, Inc. petition for zoning ordinance application 1-2024 for October 7th at 7 p.m.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and the public hearing is set and will be advertised by the clerk. And the public hearing will be here in these council chambers at 7 o'clock prior to the council meeting that evening. Okay.
Correct.
All right. I think that's all the business we have for that item. Let the record show that Mr. Hanem is rejoining us at the council table. And we're up to agenda item 8, which is a report of the Employee and Community Relations Committee held here a week ago. Mrs. Westfall.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Employee and Community Relations Committee met on August 12, 2024 at 5:30 to talk about the Magistrate Court Administrative Salary Increase request. For the record, present were myself, Mary Westfall, other committee members, Marcus Hanson, Doug Hanem, Patrick Richardson, other council members, Mark Fry, Brian McCann, and from administration, Mayor Stout, Toby Schroyer, Leslie Brining, Bill Sanford, Joe Shaw. Also, Judge Bonfiglio and Magistrate Cole joined us, and we did have some media present. The committee introduced the agenda item and invited Judge Bonfiglio to share his thoughts about why the request to raise the Magistrate Cole's salary from $126,000 to $126,999 to $142,000. So he indicated that he just felt that she had been working very hard and that she was deserving of the increase. Committee members and other council members were present and expressed some concerns that focused on the $15,000 increase, which is a 12% increase, why the request was coming in a mid-budget cycle. Other concerns were, is there a broader need to look at wage and salary in general for the city, to do some kind of a study? Also, whether there had been any new responsibilities that the magistrate court administrator was taking on that would warrant this kind of a adjustment. And additionally discussed was the high cost to Sylvania taxpayers already to pay for all the court costs. So after some discussion, Mr. Hanem moved and Mr. Patrickson seconded to refer this back to council, as we felt that it was something that needed further discussion at the full council level. So with that, motion passed and the issue's been referred back to the full council. Additionally, we discussed the Northview Art Show, participation of a possible city council award. After some discussion, it was determined that we would reach out to the Arts Commission for further discussion and see if there was something we could come up with them coming up to make a recommendation. So we adjourned at 6:30, and that's the meeting.
Thank you, Mrs. Westfall. Any comments or questions concerning Mrs. Westfall's committee report? That committee meeting was a public meeting and was recorded, and I have been informed that there have been many people that have listened to the tape of that committee meeting. We're pleased that people are interested in listening to it. And as a result, I believe we have received and we have copied to members of council some letters that have come in with comments and input concerning the issue that was discussed in that committee meeting. There were 5 of them, I believe. We have copies of them that have been distributed. And we have several of those interested parties in attendance this evening. And as is the norm in this council chamber, when people attend, we invite them to speak if they choose to. So I'm looking right at you and inviting any or all of you to come to the podium. We need you to give us your name and your address, but you are welcome to speak. Hopefully not at great length, but you're welcome to speak.
I'm gonna try my best.
Okay. We appreciate you taking the time to be here.
I'm definitely not a public speaker, so I will just be reading this.
Most people who go to that podium are not.
Forgive the nerves as well. You said my name, right? That's not my address. What did I need to do? Okay, my name is Katie McDonough, and my address is, I'm a Perrysburg resident, so I don't know if you still want it, but it's 10294. 10294 Bridgewood Street, Perrysburg, Ohio, 43551. Okay, so good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council members. My name is Katie McDonough, as previously stated. I was a former deputy clerk in the Civil Department for almost 7 years with Sylvania Municipal Court. I'm writing to express my deep concerns regarding the handling of recent matters within the court system and to bring to your attention to some inaccuracies that have had significant implications for my employment and the broader staff dynamics. I must address a significant discrepancy noted during the recent committee meeting. The magistrate reported that only 5 employees had left and 4 had retired. However, this does not accurately reflect the situation. In reality, the number of city employees who have departed since the judge's tenure is closer to 14, which does not include many additional temporary workers. I think at last count it was 9 attempts. The reason for the departures were not due to seeking higher paid positions. In fact, some left before they even had other employment lined up. Some were forced to retire. Some were forced to resign. Many others took pay cuts just to escape the toxic work environment. This misrepresents the staffing challenges we face, leaving minimal staff to be responsible for excessive amounts of vital work. Moreover, this has caused a lot of burnouts and a toxic work environment within the Sylvania Municipal Court. Although cameras were set up previously, they were also being used to capture conversations of unhappiness, frustrations, and anxiousness due to the lack of workers present to help with the office workload. Imagine being watched by your boss, who had access to these cameras, to make sure you were doing your work constantly and that you were not having any interactions in a friendly, human manner, which is perfectly normal within the work setting. We are constantly told we need to be team players and to foster teamwork. However, it is hard to accomplish this when your boss says, "Be careful what you say because we are watching." In addition to the mountain of work that was piling up, it was expected of us to train the constant, ever-revolving temporary workers who had little to no experience. This was challenging because we were accused of not doing our work when just asking our fellow coworkers how their weekend was or how their hospitalized child was doing, and reprimanded for doing so. These little human interactions are the foundation of which teamwork is built. I am a full-time mother of 2, as well as a full-time worker. I have the responsibility of making sure that my kids get to school and all of their doctor's appointments. I often take my youngest to school in the mornings because of her being bullied on the bus. Occasionally, I would be late by a couple minutes due to these circumstances. At this time, this was not a concern of Ms. Cole's, as I would give her notice that I was running late, and she would reply in a text message, "No problem." However, after training a temporary worker by the name of Nikki, things started to change. As I was training Nikki, she had commented on the high turnover rate and was nervous that she would lose her job. I replied to her, I don't know why so many people have been let go, but if I were her, I would continue to keep looking for employment through the temporary agency just to be safe. As the terminations began, people were expected to take on multiple roles. At this time, Magistrate Cole and Judge Bonfiglio approached me to take on the role of backup bailiff. I reluctantly said yes to the offer because I thought I would be fired if I did not take on the role. The next day, I had told Ms. Cole that I did not think I had the experience or the time to take on the task she wanted me to do, while also continuing my own work responsibilities, along with still training Nikki. So I declined the offer. This is when the office environment changed for me. Nikki must have told the magistrate in private about the conversation with me, saying to her that she should find another job through the temporary agency, and Ms. Cole did not like that. Ms. Cole did also not like the fact that I turned down the backup bailiff position as well. As a result, Ms. Cole gave no warning or even bothered to ask why I was running late. Magistrate Cole and Judge Bonfiglio immediately moved to suspend me for 3 days without pay. It was only after she heard something she did not like, and after I turned down the position of backup bailiff, that she decided to fully enforce the office policy that she could, even though I was training multiple people and having to undertake my own work responsibilities. Fearing for my job, since the disciplinary action was out of the blue with no warnings, I apologized and took action to correct my tardiness. In spite of all that, less than a month later, my employment was terminated. Accurate representation of staff turnover and a fair review process for employment-related issues are crucial for maintaining trust and operational integrity within our court system. I implore the City Council to review these matters with the attention that they deserve. My fellow colleagues and I urge the Council to ask themselves, are these really the actions of someone that warrants a 12% pay increase from a city that does not have that in their budget? And what may be most detrimental to our community is that Magistrate Cole portrays herself as a role model for young women throughout our community, but in reality, she is tearing down all of the women that she works alongside with every day. I am hopeful that you will consider this information and take the necessary steps to ensure that similar issues are handled with greater fairness and transparency in the future. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Welcome.
Hello, everybody. So, my name is Rachel Montgomery, and you said we're stating address, correct? Right. My current address is 406 Burbank Drive in Toledo, 43607. I am also a former employee from Sylvania Municipal Courthouse. My employment literally only lasted 31 days. I do have a very brief paragraphs that I can read to you here. I tried to summarize as best as I could without too much emotion to it. So here we go. So although my employment was brief at this courthouse, I was able to gain an insight to the existing problems with their high turnover. Before being hired, I was informed at my interview that training would be on the fly due to the nature of the job. These are Magistrate Cole's words. Once hired, I was placed in the civil department as a deputy clerk, and within my first couple of weeks, I was learning the processes and becoming confident in what I was doing. I wasn't even a full 2 weeks there when I was approached to transfer to the criminal department by Judge Bonfiglio because he was confident in my abilities. Therefore, once I moved into the criminal department, it was within days that I realized there is no official training for newcomers into that position. The training documents that did exist were all handwritten notes from 2020, which, as we know, was the COVID year. They consisted of incomplete steps and outdated information because from 2020 to 2024, some things would have changed. A few clerks that were employed there were trying to train me and kept giving me different methods on how to process the files. One clerk in particular, I felt like she was targeting me, and although I was only there for 2 weeks in that department, making simple and fixable mistakes, which on record I do have mistakes that were corrected, and the magistrate knows of that. This particular clerk was consistently reporting those mistakes, even the ones that I'm not even accountable for. So when she kept doing this to the magistrate, instead of the magistrate tightening up her training methods and who she have as trainers, she just let it continue. As she says, oh, just send it to me in email what your grievance is and I'll deal with it. So at this courthouse, some of these clerks were rude and very short with their coworkers and as well as the public. But as a newcomer, it felt like the work environment was very hostile. There was a lot of attitude and there was a lot of animosity just amongst the staff. And for someone like me who's a little bit bubbly and just tries to kumbaya with everybody, I'm like, okay, well maybe I should just sit here quietly and just, do what I do and go home. I was expecting to walk into a family environment because if you're in a courthouse or any kind of law setting, you're working very closely with people on a day-to-day basis. You don't want to walk into work and feel someone's energy just, beaming at you. It's going to bring the environment down. So I was not expecting this when I walked in the courthouse. So overall, these consistent complaints that she received, and there's photocopies of my mistakes that the magistrate received, that is what caused me to be fired on a Wednesday in the middle of the day at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And I went through a lot after being fired. I was jobless for a month. I had to move, couldn't afford to stay where I was. But I am currently employed somewhere else. But it's been a rough start to 2024 based off of what happened to me at the courthouse. And I'm not originally from Toledo. I am from Lorain County. And I see definitely diverseness in culture here in Toledo and all over, with the different cities like Sylvania and Oregon. And it's just refreshing to see that, even though I'm home away from home, I can still branch out and reach out to communities and participate in things. So, yeah, I just wasn't expecting this from the courthouse. Ms. Cole, she's different. She's a different kind of manager. So that's all I would like to say. You guys have a good evening.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for making the effort to be here tonight. Are there any other speakers that would like to come to the podium? Come on up.
I have a question. Before you all leave, have any of you ever talked to AFSCME or SEIU about? You know who they are? No. Okay, they're state and federal employee unions. And I'm just a lawyer, but listening to these stories, I would think one of you might want to investigate that.
Hello. Sorry I missed what we're supposed to do. I was tending to my child.
We just need you to give us your name and your address.
Okay, my name is Randallyn Cooper, and my address is 4124 Woodmont Road, Toledo, Ohio, 43613.
Thank you. Now you can make whatever comments you'd like.
Okay, so I would first and foremost like to say I'm obviously a former employee of the court. I did leave. I was not forced to leave. I made the decision on my own to leave under my own free will. I just was able to listen to the meeting minutes last night, so my notes are a little scattered. And I'm a mom, and I'm a student, and I work, so I'm just kind of gonna go with the main things that stuck out to me that I was hearing be portrayed by Judge Bonfiglio and Magistrate Cole. First, I would like to say I was employed there from 2018 to 2024. First, I was employed in the probation department as a probation officer, and then I was also employed with the clerk's department as a deputy clerk for almost 2 years. So one of the things, and I heard the tail end of Rachel saying also, was the training. The biggest thing is the lack of training and the lack of employees that are being hired to replace all of the employees that are leaving. When I came down to the clerk's office, there was 2 empty desks. So I believe that when I did the quick count earlier, that would be 8 people in the criminal department. There was 2 full-time people to my knowledge and 1 part-time person in the civil department. When I left, there was only 3 people that I started with in the criminal side left and 2 people left on the civil department. Multiple times, many employees went to management and asked, can we get help? Can we get help? Can we get more employees in here? You know, people are leaving and we are forced to take on this extra workload and being given more responsibilities, such as training the clerks, the new hires, but not being compensated for it, constantly being told that it's not in the budget, that they don't have the money for it, despite people retiring after 30 years. So 2 people retire after 30 years, the bailiff is leaving, and all these other employees are leaving, but you're telling me that you don't have the money in the budget to compensate your workers. But now you're coming as a magistrate and asking for a raise. That was a little off-putting to me. Something else that I noticed is that the judge and the magistrate talked so much about how they implemented these new programs. I can say that one of the temp workers that was hired and her full-time responsibility was to build the amnesty program. Another temp worker who was hired full-time, her responsibility was to build the in-house collections program. The specialized dockets that were created with my input and 2 fellow officers' input and another officer that was part-time clerks and part-time probation. And it's my understanding that the majority of the legal research that went into that was done by one of our bailiffs. So again, I was a little caught off guard to hear that she did that. I'm not sure who mentioned this in the meeting with the judge about the comparison of the jurisdiction. I heard it on the meeting. Okay, somebody mentioned to him when the judge was comparing our jurisdiction, our caseload, our numbers, our revenue, all of that to other cases. That is something that I was constantly met with when I worked in probation, asking for other officers, because managing a caseload of 100 people and being able to give them significant time, significant resources, linking them to the community supports that they need, following up on their mental health, following up on their drug screens, following up on any other need that they have to make sure that we're doing our best to reduce recidivism. We constantly met with, well, compared to our other courts that have similar size, this is what they're doing. They're doing the same thing that we are doing, but they don't have the volume of cases that we have. So that was something that I wanted to touch on also, because it was always that comparison, and like it was said in the meeting, it's not a fair comparison, because you only have so many people that reside here, but you have the amount of cases coming in from 23, 475, all the big box stores, Holland, part of Swanton. I mean, it's just a massive area for all of these crimes to be occurring, and then you're wanting to put almost every single person on probation. How is that fair? How is that fair, like I said, and that's not even fair to your constituents when the premise of probation is to rehab these clients. I can't do that if I have 100 people that I'm supposed to be seeing, this many contacts a week. That's not possible. It's not possible. So I would just I just wanted to say some things that, like I said, in my experience, that was my experience. I left voluntarily. I did take another job. I did not take another job because it was higher pay. And I made it very clear that no amount of money would make me stay there, because the work environment is so unreal.
We appreciate your insight and comments into this issue.
Thank you.
Mayor,
Mr. Fry.
I do have a couple of questions. And this may not be the lane, but you'd mentioned the probation counts. What is the typical count in your experience? You were there 6 years, so you've probably met other probation officers over the years and other courts. What's the typical count?
I believe at the municipal level, it was 100. Like 100 was the max. I could be mistaken,
Okay.
but that's what I believe.
And one of the letters, or maybe two of the anonymous letters that we received, commented about ankle bracelets being used excessively in the municipal court here in Sylvania.
Absolutely.
Now, this may not be your lane. Did you see a change over the 6 years on the amount of those being used?
Yes.
In material nature, I mean, obviously, 5% one way, but I mean material increase?
Yes. To the point where they were running on monitors. So if there's not a monitor available when you're ordered to be put on one, you're put on a wait list. And they've come up with like handheld devices as an alternative to the TAT bracelet, which is an alcohol monitor. So now they've purchased handheld monitors.
Okay. Thank you very much for your input.
All right, if there's no further speakers, I don't think it's council's intent to discuss this evening any further, but to take what you've said under consideration and discuss this at more length. There is no rush for council to award a salary increase, and I don't believe it'll happen tonight, but that's up to council as we move forward. I do need to move forward with the council agenda. If you note, agenda item 9 is a council executive session. We have one of the city's attorneys sitting here to discuss ongoing litigation, and there's also a personnel issue that will be discussed in executive session as well. I need a motion to go into executive session for those two issues.
So, second.
Moved and seconded. I do need a roll call vote for this.
Mr. Frye?
Yes.
Mr. Hanson?
Yes.
Mr. Hanem?
Yes.
Mr. McCann?
Yes.
Mr. Richardson?
Yes.
Ms. Stout?
Yes.
Mrs. Westfall?
Yes.
Vote is 7-0. So we will be going into executive session, and I need all of you to leave the council chambers. We will be coming Council did meet in executive session, committee of the whole, to discuss two issues. The first was pending litigation. We received an update from an attorney and no action was taken in executive session on that issue. The second was a personnel issue, which council discussed at length, and the president of council is going to report what action was taken,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
or is going to be taken now. No action was taken in executive session.
Correct. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There have been a number of letters that we received, some of them anonymous, some of them not. And we saw comments this evening from a number of individuals as well who were former court employees that indicate that there's a disagreement or on what is actually the turnover, and some of those items make us pause for the circumstances that we're considering on whether or not to give Magistrate Cole the raise that was requested by Judge Bonfiglio. So therefore, we are respectfully requesting that Judge Bonfiglio return to an Employee and Community Relations Committee meeting at a date yet to be set and a time yet to be determined. But we would appreciate the judge coming back and working with the Employee Community Relations Committee meeting in regards to clarifying those things. Ms. Brining, if we could send those letters, those anonymous letters, and non-anonymous letters over to the judge so that he would have the opportunity to review and make comments when the time is appropriate. That would be wonderful.
I just note, you also have a bit of the ability to review the comments that we got in today's meeting.
Absolutely.
All right. So now we are going to restart the council meeting at agenda item 10, which is an energy special improvement district for promenade shops. Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be very brief introduction for Ms. Clark. We've had, I believe, one ESID, Energy Special Improvement District. That was Funnigan's, if you all remember, over there on Little Road. This is the second one that we had. This one was on Promenade Shop. So what Ms. Clark will do, we'll give you an update on kind of what the ESID is, refresh your minds, because it's been a while since one of these has been here, and then tell you a little bit about the project itself. So, Dana, go ahead.
Thank you. Thanks so much for the time. Oh, no problem. My name is Dana Clark. I'm the PACE administrator with the Toledo-Lucas County Port Authority. Many of you may be familiar with the different finance programs that the Port Authority offers. Certainly, we're more than just a port. It is our slogan and saying, but we manage the seaport, airport, train station, many properties, and districts throughout the greater Northwestern Ohio area. But the division that I lead is our PACE program. You may also hear that interchangeably referred to as Better Buildings Northwest Ohio. The Toledo Port founded the Better Buildings program back in 2011 to further offer PACE financing for commercial properties to make energy efficient improvements to their property. What you'll find is that because of the Toledo Promenade Shops project that completed, we would be presenting resolution and ordinances for the facilitation of special assessment for the repayment of that loan. So my reason for coming is just to kind of refresh about the program, explain the special assessment process, what some of the benefits are of PACE, because it is something that can be offered to constituents in the community to further economic development, ideally to facilitate job creation, revitalization, renovation of buildings too. So talking a little bit more about what PACE is, PACE stands for Property Assessed Clean Energy. So I mentioned energy efficient improvements. Typically projects will include the envelope of the building being repaired or improved, doors, windows, roofing. Many times we'll see projects that include LED lighting, HVAC, boilers, chillers, electrical work, insulation, Things that if they're replacing something that is already there, it's a measurement of energy efficient improvement, or even on new construction projects, it just has to be more efficient than whatever minimum building code is. These loans offer, they can be long-term, fixed rate, below market, interest rate financing. So our rates are very competitive. We try to keep everything as low cost as possible so that we can help facilitate economic development. The program partners very well with other financing too, because of the property assessment or special assessment being utilized as the repayment vehicle. We have the ability to partner well with banks and other financing, other grant programs. When I talk about the special assessment, that's kind of the other unique portion of PACE, is that their repayment is remitted every January and July when their real estate taxes are remitted. So the borrower will make their payment to the county will send it back through to the city, and then we request through these agreements being presented that that payment get remitted back to the port to pay down the loan. Benefit of the special assessment is primarily that we're not coming in a mortgage lien position, so we're not competing for that lien position with a bank, and also that the loan then stays with the property, not the borrower. So somebody could improve a property, fix it up. If they decided to sell it, the special assessment would carry forward to the next owner that would continue to benefit from the improvements that are affixed to the building until the loan is paid off. In Sylvania, we just closed on the Toledo Promenade Shops, which is a plaza on Monroe Street. It's owned by Miller Diversified, and they are going to improve all of the rooftop HVAC units and replace all the doors and windows throughout the plaza. They're just aged and in due time for replacement. They will present pretty significant energy savings, and we are financing the whole portion of their project because it's only those two components which are all directly related to energy efficiency. We closed on the loan last week. Now we ask that council considers the agreement to adapt a special assessment for this property. As Joe mentioned, we had a couple of other projects in Sylvania, but the most recent one I think was about 6 years ago. So it's likely that some of you may not be as familiar with the program because we haven't had a project lately. I did actually just last week got another application in for another project on Monroe Street in Sylvania. So it is very possible you'll see me back here in a month or two whenever they're ready to move that one along. I just wanted to open it up for any questions and certainly answer anything about the program that I could.
So Dana, I understand Funnigans was one of those.
Yep.
That,
Mhm.
Would you have an update on that or an assessment on that, how it went or what the result?
I don't recall what they improved, but I did look up. I know that Funnigans was done in 2018. They're still paying on the assessment. Tam O'Shanter also had a PACE loan with us back in 2012 that has since been paid off. So I'm happy to email out some updates on what the improvements were. I just wanted to at least reference which ones happened here. Yeah. So the PACE projects, because of Ohio Revised Code, have to be facilitated through Energy Special Improvement Districts, or ESIDs like Joe was talking about. And the port established one in Toledo and then branched out from there. So Sylvania participates in our Northwest Ohio Advanced Energy Improvement District, which is our ports managed ESID. And Sylvania was an early adapter in that. So, you know, having a project in 2012, we kicked off at that late 2011. So certainly appreciate the partnership. And although we're kind of a small but mighty team, we've facilitated almost 200 PACE loans in that time. So considering I am the PACE department, you know, we do try to get out. By the end of this year, we'll probably have about 30 presentations to economic development partners, chambers of commerce, bank partners, communities. So our goal is always economic development, but to really help facilitate that projects get to fruition, they get completed, and, you know, helping communities through their revitalization
There are three resolutions that we need to pass tonight to do this. Ms. Brian, Dana, who can tell us the purpose of these three?
All of them really are really the facilitation of that payment flow. So the agreement to place the special assessment, and then the agreement that when the payment is remitted by the borrower to pay their real estate taxes with the separate line item for special assessment at the county, that the county will remit it to the city and the city will remit it back to us. That's my easiest way to explain it.
Let's see if we get this done.
Mr. Mayor, I do have one question. There's three parcels listed, and one of them is 80% of the cost.
Yeah.
Can you explain the difference between the
Sure. We, that particular plaza is parceled out into 3 different parcels. It's actually 2 addresses as well. So we ask the borrower. Yeah, it is, yeah. We do ask the borrower if they could tell us what portion of the project costs are on each parcel. So that if they do sell the property forward, the special assessment portion carries over to the correct ratio of improvement that was completed, if that makes sense. Like, for them, most of the HVAC units are on one of the parcels. One is smaller and one is very small. So they're all affected by the doors and windows, but the HVAC is the larger portion of the cost.
Okay, okay.
First one is proposed resolution 9, 2024, approving the petition for special assessments for the special energy improvement projects. Mr. Fry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce resolution number 9, 2024, and read by title only. Approving the petition for special assessments for special energy improvement projects under the Ohio Revised Code, Chapter 1710, approving the necessity of acquiring, constructing, and improving certain public improvements in the city of Sylvania, Ohio, in cooperation with the Northwest Ohio Advanced Energy Improvement District. I move for passage of resolution number 9, 2024, as an emergency measure.
Second.
Been moved and seconded for passage of resolution number 9, 2024 as an emergency measure. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries and resolution 9, 2024 is enacted. Agenda item 10C is proposed resolution 91, 2024. For determining to proceed with the acquisition, construction improvements on those properties. Mr. Fry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce ordinance number 91, 2024, and read by title only. Determining to proceed with the acquisition, construction, and improvement of certain public improvements in the city of Sylvania, Ohio, in cooperation with the Northwest Ohio Advanced Energy Improvement District. I move for passage of ordinance number 91, 2024, as an emergency measure.
Second.
Moved and seconded for passage of ordinance number 91, 2024 as an emergency measure. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries and ordinance 91, 2024 is enacted as an emergency measure. And finally, agenda item 10D, proposed ordinance 92, 2024, levying special assessments. Mr. Fry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce ordinance number 92, 2024, and read by title only. Levying special assessments for the purposes of acquiring, constructing, and improving certain public improvements in the city of Sylvania, Ohio, in cooperation with the Northwest Ohio Advanced Energy Improvement District. I move for passage of ordinance number 92, 2024, as an emergency measure.
Second.
Been moved and seconded for passage of ordinance number 92, 2024 as an emergency measure. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries and ordinance 92, 2024 is enacted as an emergency measure.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the time. I appreciate it. Thanks, Joe.
Who's staying up here? All right, we're up to agenda item 11. This is the Grove Street and Alexis Road Corridor Traffic Signal Timing Project. Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In front of you is a proposal from DGL Consulting Engineers. Way back in 2015 was the last time our Monroe Street corridor was retimed. And what that means is putting all the signals in coordination with each other so that we get flow. If you've noticed in the last few construction projects we've had at Monroe and Kroger, Monroe and Haroon, Monroe and Silica, the timing is off. And there's a reason for that. We've added phases and several of those signal improvements improvements, and so old data, trying to shove old data into new phases, and it doesn't quite work. So the proposal in front of you for $17,300 will retime that entire corridor. It'll go from Erie Street all the way to ProMedica Health and Wellness on Monroe Street. We'll also grab a little bit of Alexis Road. That's the majority of the work. You'll also notice there's one additional signal that's in there. That's Brent and Maine. If you've been through there, that is a problematic signal for us. That's kind of a localized central. It's not a part of a corridor system. The goal is going to be to optimize that signal. So do whatever we can to try to maximize it with the existing infrastructure that we have in place.
We did have a real problem at Brent in South Main the last few months. Traffic in the evening was backing up heading westbound a lot, partially due to the detours. But Joe did get our contractor out there and they adjusted that timing and it is much better than previously. And I think this goes without being said that when the expressway interchanges are made, either next year or the following year, we will need to build those traffic signals, or at least a new one, at Alexis and Monroe and the expressway into this system as well.
Yeah, it's a good point. That is being scoped. The consultant that's doing that work for ODOT has already kind of done a lot of that work for that whole interchange. So this gets us through, Band-Aids it a little bit so we can get to the full project in 26 and then we move forward.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Fry.
Joe, if this is approved, what's the timing of getting this done?
Yep, we can get.
Having driven down Monroe Street many times and getting frustrated by the lighting.
There's no one more frustrated than the engineer sitting in front of you, that's for sure. 6 weeks from start to finish. We've already kind of laid the groundwork if this was approved to go out and do some very small traffic counts that are needed at a couple of the intersections. By the time that they do that, collect the information and have the plan is about 6 weeks, and then we field implement it. So my goal is hopefully before Thanksgiving, we have this timed up and ready to go.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we do have proposed ordinance 93, 2024 to accept the proposal of DGL Consulting. Mr. Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce by title only ordinance number 93, 2024, accepting the proposal of DGL Consulting Engineers, LLC, to provide professional surveying services for the Monroe Street and Alexis Road Corridor Traffic Signal Timing Project, appropriating funds therefore in the amount of $17,300, and I move passage as an emergency measure.
Second.
Been moved and seconded for passage of ordinance number 93, 2024 as an emergency measure. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries and ordinance 93, 2024 is enacted as an emergency measure. On to agenda item 12, Lucas County Engineer Surplus Salt Purchase. Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Lucas County engineer had reached out to us. They had purchased 1,500 tons of salt as a part of their ODOT contract. The really light winter that we had this past one, they did not use too much, and unfortunately for them, they had no place to really store the salt that they had purchased. They reached out to local communities, us being one of them, and asked if anybody had the ability to take the salt from them at unit cost. So our streets department took a quick peek and saw what our hoppers looked like, and we thought we could take about 1,000 tons of their salt of the 1,500 that they had asked for, and completely fill our hoppers. We talked internally about whether we wanted to do that or not. The end result was we do, and with the goal being that in the following year we don't purchase salt at all. We have plenty of salt. Our hoppers are full. We're anticipating using some of those salt funds that we would use next year to possibly replace some equipment that we use in the salt operation, which is a loader. That would be a capital improvement possibly down the road in 2025. But this made sense, and we're helping out our partner. We're paying unit costs. They get the salt. They deliver it to us. We just load it into our domes, but we're paying the exact same rate that everybody in Lucas County would have paid for it.
Okay, we do have proposed ordinance 94, 2024 to authorize that purchase. Mr. Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce ordinance number 94, 2024, and read by title only. authorizing the mayor and director of finance to purchase roadway de-icing salt for the city of Sylvania, appropriating funds therefore, and I move passage as an emergency measure.
Second.
Moved and seconded for passage of ordinance number 94, 2024 as an emergency measure. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries and ordinance 94, 2024 is enacted as an emergency measure. All right, on to page 2 of our agenda. We're up to agenda item 13. These are change order 4 and final change order number 5 for the improvements and upgrade at the Monroe Street Silica Drive intersection and replacing Silica Drive Bridge. Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. 2 ordinances in front of you. Both of them are change orders. One is number 4, as he mentioned, and then number 5 will be the final. We're doing these in separate orders just for paperwork tracking on our end with ODOT. So change order number 4, we like all of our projects to go as absolutely crystal clear and beautiful as we can. Sometimes there's scars on projects, and change order number 4 is a little bit of a scar that's on our project. It had to do with the water main that's at Becker Place in Monroe. As you can tell, we unfortunately had to take some pavement up and do some work under there. Long story short, we had two fittings that we were looking to put caps on. Very simple effort, go down, dig them up, put caps on them, call it a day. When we got down there, we found out that the fittings themselves were made of lead. We don't have a whole lot of mainline lead stuff. That's some of the pretty rare stuff that I think we see. We see it on houses. We don't necessarily see it on mainline stuff. So of course, when you see it on your mainline stuff, it has to come out. So it went from simple caps to now taking fittings off to now replacing very small sections of main to get all of that old stuff out. So what should have been a couple of small repairs turned into a much larger effort. So unfortunately, to do that work and expand the scope of work that we originally had, that's an increase of $21,499.63, but certainly necessary and had to be done when the hole was open.
And if you read ahead, you'll see that final change order is a much larger deduct than this. All right. We have proposed ordinance 95, 2024. Mr. Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce ordinance number 95, 2024, read by title only, authorizing the mayor and director of finance to approve change order number 4 to this use agreement with Moser Construction for the Monroe Street and Silica Drive intersection improvement and Silica Drive bridge replacement project to reflect the cost of one new scope of work item, increasing the contract amount by $21,499.63, appropriating funds therefore, and I move passage as an emergency measure.
Second.
Moved and seconded for passage of ordinance number 95, 2024 as an emergency measure. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries and ordinance 95, 2024 is enacted as an emergency measure. Now on to change order number 5, Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And the good part on change order number 5 is he gave you kind of a heads up, a really big deduct to take all of the quantity underruns on the project. The list is pretty long. There's 49 items, if I counted correctly, that were there. Most of them deducts. The larger items, so that you know, we didn't have to do as much undercut, which is usually unstable soil underneath the road. There wasn't as much as we anticipated it being. That's good. Railroad flagging services was something you guys saw. You was with Norfolk Southern. They transferred the ownership of flagging services to the city. That was a $50,000 increase to us. We used 16,000 of those services, so there was 34,000 of that left that we didn't have to use. That's good. And then over by the Silica in Monroe parking lot at the southwest corner, we originally had that as asphalt for the multi-use path that goes along that side and then heads down to the bridge. We decided to change that to concrete. We think long-term, our crews can better maintain that than pave that. That's kind of some specialty equipment. It's not super easy asphalt work, so long-term we think we can maintain that concrete path better than using the asphalt. So there was more concrete in the job to do that, or taking the asphalt off and then doing the concrete. So that was about $24,000 there. So the final result is the whole project comes in with a big change order deduct of $276,073.26. If you do the math from where we started the original bid and then go all the way back to this change order, we were able to accomplish a $6 million job for under $16,000 less, which is a good job well done. So Happy to answer any questions.
One question council might be interested in is we had that weekend event where a new water line burst in front of City Hall. That was a contractor and a manufacturer issue, and the change orders do properly charge the contractor for that.
Yeah, this is in one of your list items that's in here. About a third of the way down has that in here. If I remember right, it was 11,000-ish.
Okay. And it reimburses our people for the time they invested in that correction. Okay. All right. We do have ordinance numbers 96, 2024 to enact this final change order. Mr. Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, this is ordinance number 96, 2024, which I will read by title only. Authorizing the mayor and director of finance to approve change order number 5, final, to this city's agreement with Moser Construction for the Monroe Street and Silicon Drive intersection improvement and Silicon Drive bridge replacement project to reflect the as-built quantities, decreasing the contract amount by $276,073.26, and I move passage as an emergency measure.
It's been moved and seconded for passage of ordinance number 96, 2024 as an emergency measure. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and ordinance 96, 2024 is enacted as an emergency measure. Thank you, Joe. We are now up to agenda item 14. We have a proposed ordinance 97, 2024 to enter into an agreement with a new police cadet. Chief Miller, tell us about this.
Yes, Mayor, this is Tessa Gardella. She started with us on August 5th. And she spent a week here at the PD, and she began her academy training on August 12th. She'll be complete in December, and we should start her field training with us in January. So she comes to us from over by the Cleveland area. I'm drawing a blank on the name, but she's a graduate of Akron University and Cuyahoga Community College. So
This is our second cadet agreement.
I think
More than that, third or fourth, okay. And if you look at the agreement, you'll see that even though we are paying her a salary and paying her tuition, if she chooses to leave or is terminated, there is a reimbursement clause in the agreement.
Correct.
All right. We do have ordinance 9. Any questions for the chief? Okay, we do have ordinance 97, 2024 to enter into this agreement. Mr. Fry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce ordinance number 97, 2024, and read by title only. Authorizing the mayor and director of finance to enter into an agreement with Tessa Gardella. I move for passage of ordinance number 97, 2024 as an emergency measure.
Second. Moved and seconded for passage of ordinance number 97, 2024 as an emergency measure. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and ordinance 97, 2024 is enacted as an emergency measure. Agenda item 15 is also an issue to help us address the difficulty of finding and hiring qualified police officers. And this is a change to our appointing ordinance. Chief Miller.
Yes, Mayor, members of council. One of the things that we were looking at that we were lacking when we were looking for recruits, and we find in-service officers, they'd say to us, do you have laterals? Meaning that if I come to your department, can I possibly retain vacation for my years of service, and can I retain some sort of pay instead of starting back over at zero and everything? Our answer was, sorry, we don't do it. And they're like, sorry, I'm not interested. Which I can't really blame them, because if you're coming from a department and you've got 20 days of vacation and we're gonna give you 0 days your first year, and then you're gonna have to work your way back up, why would I wanna come? So we did work with the union. We were able to establish a memorandum of understanding to establish a lateral transfer program. We've worked with civil service, and also to help recruit these people is to allow them to just come in under an application process instead of a testing process. So their competitive test is the fact that they took a state test already and passed it. versus a cadet would still have to take the National Testing Network and take the civil service test. They would all be encompassed on the same list. We would just then have everyone to choose from instead of, which hopefully would be a lot more people. I've talked to several agencies in the area that have been doing this, and they've reported positive results. They're getting 20 to 30 candidates on a list of a mixture of sworn and unsworn people, the cadets versus in-service officers. So I'm really hopeful this will help us. And as part of this is we wanted to change our age restrictions around a little bit. They were 21 to 37, and we're looking at moving them from 21 to 42, which, especially with the in-service officers, you could end up with a person with 15 years of experience, still be within the age bracket. And in our retirement system, especially if they're coming from another municipality in the same retirement system, you're looking at a possibility of another 15 years that this person would be still working with us. So.
Thank you for that explanation. And we all read about this one in the media, and I can confirm that when mayors get together, this is a subject of discussion. We're trying to avoid situations where we're poaching each other's departments, but at the same time, we need to have a larger eligibility field and let people settle where they want to be.
And we want the best candidates.
Absolutely.
And we were without this, I can honestly say we were within probably a couple of weeks of losing one of our latest employees for the same situation. Eric McManus, who came to us from Akron with 16 years of experience, had actually applied at another agency that was offering lateral, and it wasn't because he wanted to leave us. It was because he lost 20 days of vacation and was starting at the bottom of our pay. So he took a pay cut and lost vacation to come here.
Mr. Mayor.
I have a question.
Mrs. Westfall.
So in your industry, if somebody leaves 20 days of vacation, do they not get compensated for that accrued vacation time?
He got compensated in Akron, but when he moved to us, he starts over. So his first year, he got 0 days of vacation.
I understand
that.
that.
3 personal days, and then the next year, he can only accrue up to.
So can they take vacation without pay? Is that an option? Vacation without pay?
It would be a leave of absence without pay, but then it cuts into your retirement too, because you're not paying into retirement during that.
Okay.
Chief, so in the instance you cited, so this goes backwards, correct?
Correct.
So it's backwards, and then any new potential candidate for the police department, if they've got 20 days, they would get 20 days?
They would get whatever is, if they came to us with 7 years of experience, if our contract says at 7 years, you get 12 days of vacation. As soon as they complete the calendar year that they complete their probation with us in, that next year they're made whole. They get their 7 years, and then they advance from there.
And would they also come in with 7 years of experience according to our pay scale? Is that correct?
After they've completed their FTO period, then they would be advanced forward. So it's kind of built in that they don't get it by default. They have to prove through stages that they're staying with us, they're making their probation, they're making their training period, that they're what we want to be here with us. And we did go back and make our other members whole as far as in comparison, because if we didn't go backwards to the other officers, I was gonna have a conflict.
That was with an agreement with the union that we've done
Correct.
that. What we're doing tonight is actually raising the age
Correct.
from, I believe it was 37 to 42.
Yes, and we're just
Okay.
kind of explaining how we got to where we're
Yep.
at. and trying
Okay.
to-
All right, we do have proposed ordinance 98, 2024 to raise that age by amending section 125.04. Mrs. Westfall.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce ordinance number 98-2024, and I'll read by title only, amending the court codified ordinances of the city of Sylvania 1979 as amended by amending section 125.04, original appointments to Division of Police. I move passage of ordinance number 98-2024 as an emergency measure.
Second.
Been moved and seconded for passage of ordinance number 98, 2024 as an emergency measure. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries and ordinance 98, 2024 is enacted as an emergency measure.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to commend Chief Miller for taking this progressive step and for working this out with our bargaining unit, and I think it will enhance our ability to provide the protection and police services that we need for our community. Thank you for your effort.
We're now on to agenda item 16, and this is to amend our current zoning code. Ms. Bryning.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Recently, we've received an uptick in the increase about car washes and car wash regulations in the city. We only have a couple, and they are part of gas stations, so that's how we were able to regulate them before. But the ones that the zoning department and the service department have received increase for recently are not attached to a gas station. So I did some research and took a look at how other communities regulate where they are going and what they look like and how far they should be from residential areas, and have, I thought it would be appropriate to have it be a special use. That's typically how we like to handle these types of things, so that anybody who wants to have them, and you can see they would be permitted just in the B1, B2, B4, M1, and M2 districts. That would be the first thing, and then there's some other criteria. One interesting thing, other additional request is number 8. We received a request for someone to have a dog wash station as a component of a car wash. She wouldn't necessarily own the car wash itself, but she wants to have the little dog wash station. So that's just kind of a unique thing that I thought I don't think there's any opposition to it, but I just also think that perhaps we should regulate it a little bit.
When Leslie shared this with me, I chuckled.
It's been discussed at staff what that could really mean.
So this is the proposed legislation, and it's just for referral to the Plan Commission today. Yeah.
Nice thing to remember is any dog wash will be subject to a special use, and we'll have an opportunity to review it.
Yes.
Council will have a hand.
Right.
Back to the car wash issue. This came up with other mayors as well. They've gotten complaints for some of the car washes they put in because of the noise of the fan at the end of the tunnel.
Right.
Disturbing people across the street in New York, because that's pretty high decibels. So that's also why it's in the zoning the way it is. But you're going to have a chance to look at it as a council and either grant or not grant a special use permit for that location.
The car wash that's on Monroe Street, near the road, that one used to have a gas station, but now it doesn't.
Right.
But they had done some updates to that building, and I don't think that is further than the 50 feet that we have in this. I know that it would be grandfathered in under that.
Right. That it was already existing, so that's why it's still there.
Okay, but you got.
I assume it's part of the.
That was based on the service director's recommendation.
I assume that was part of the special use when we granted the gas station.
Exactly. Right.
Probably not.
Right. Exactly.
But the noise level is enough to raise the deck across the street.
Yeah. I see what you did there. I got it. Even at 10 o'clock.
Okay, Mr. Haynem, I need a motion to refer this to Plan Commission.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Move we refer ordinance number 99-2024 to the Planning Commission for their review and recommendation.
Second.
Moved and seconded to refer ordinance 99, 2024 for the Plan Commission's review and recommendation. Okay, we are up to agenda item 17. Our service director is back at the podium. What's that? Did we vote on it? Oh, It is late. All in favor of that referral indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries and it's referred, and that meeting does take place in September. It is the 11th. All right. Service Director is back at the podium, looking for input concerning our knee wall standards.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Back in May, we had talked about knee wall standards. Just as a quick reminder, these show up in our design guidelines in the Gateway Architectural District. That's Main Street and Monroe Street, kind of that area, and then as you expand to the east of the interchange. As a reminder, the design guidelines talk about the knee wall, but they don't provide specific guidance on what it should look like. So that was the effort in May, was to get a consultant on board. We've been working with Edge to develop that. So what's in front of you is the packet that they've come up with. They have 3 options to take a quick look at. The 3 options also have elevations, so you can get a quick peek of what they would look like, as well as costing information on a per unit foot basis, so that we can all understand of what the cost would be to have these installed. So we're kind of try to run 2 trains with this, with the service department recommending a council referral to the most appropriate committee for review and recommendation. And then at the same time, we would like to have this on the September 11th Board of Architectural Review agenda for them to take a look at. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Ms. Down.
Mr. Shaw, is the intention that we would, or a single option would be chosen, or is the intention that these 3 options would be made available for potential developers to choose from based on the location and the
We would like to see a single option chosen. That would be an easy thing that we could take a piece of packet like this and says, this is what our knee wall needs to look like, here you go. These are the plants we want to see, these are the colors that we want to see, these are the spacings we want to see. All of that would be in this packet of information that we could then hand over to a developer who's redeveloping their lot.
Thank you.
So, in follow-up of the roundabout discussion for the Monroe and Erie, the knee wall for the properties there, are they, I assume that's part of this consideration?
They're not located in the Gateway Architectural District, but we could easily, obviously, to have a gateway entrance to our community from the west.
That's what I was.
It does make sense to have some of those standards set that way too. So I think you're right. Not required, but I think is a good idea.
There are a couple of different committees that this would be appropriate for. It comes into play on Monroe Street right now. There's some on Main Street that we've already built into the Main Street improvements. And the roundabout that was talked about at Erie Street and Monroe Street shows some knee walls. And knee walls in that effect will try to keep headlights from going into people's windows at night. So there are different things to consider. This could go to committee of the whole, it could go to streets. You're off the hook, Mrs. Westfall, it's not gonna come to community relations.
As somebody complains.
President of Council and I discussed it, thinks it ought to go to streets. Okay, we need a motion to refer the knee wall packet, the proposed standards, to streets for their consideration.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Hay.
Is this a standard that we require review of the planning commission?
No.
Board of Architectural Review.
Board of Architectural Review?
It does not become a formal part of our zoning standards. I think that's the real question.
Okay, got it.
It becomes part of our reference standards that we give to the contractor.
Got it.
Or the owner at the time.
Exactly.
Okay.
You do not need to refer to the Board of Architecture Review. You don't refer to other things there.
Right.
Okay.
And for clarification, would you like the Streets Committee to review this after the Board of Architectural Review does? Is that
Yes.
correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Before.
He said after.
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 Yeah, I think it's good to
Okay.
have Board of Architectural Review, provide their stuff, have it come back to this group, and then for sure make some choices, yep.
And you can either accept or change their recommendation. Okay, so probably you don't need to set the meeting tonight, but we do need a motion to refer it to Streets Committee. I think we already did that.
did that.
Did we vote on it?
Yep.
Okay, we're all set. So we are now up to agenda item 18. There are 3 letters of interest on 3 different projects here that the service director would like you to authorize. Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The first one is our pedestrian hybrid beacon project. These are at 4 of our school locations, Highland, Sylvan, McCord, and Southview. If you recall, we applied for ODOT safety funds to help us with these improvements, to replace what are the push-button strobe lights and turn them into pedestrian hybrid beacons, which is what you see currently on Haroon Road at the Sylvania River Trail. We were successful with our safety application. The total project cost was $1,274,700, and we were successful in getting over $1 million to help us fund that effort. We were notified by ODOT in May that we were successful, and in your letter, there's various phases of the project that have received the safety funding. So this isn't just construction, this isn't design engineering, this could be right-of-way acquisition as well. So the next step, it has a very aggressive project schedule. So our next step is to move forward in the letter of interest solicitation process for engineering consultants that want to design the project.
Okay, we need a motion to approve the service director's request for letters of interest for engineering services.
So moved. I'm sorry.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. I can say tonight on McCord Road, I saw a youngster push the strobe light that's on McCord Road for Sylvan Elementary School. I saw 3 cars ignore it. You won't ignore those pedestrian beacons.
That's correct.
Okay. The next one is for construction management services. Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Our advertisement for contractors is underway with the Haroon Road, Ravine Drive, and Flower Hospital Traffic Signal Improvement Project. The plan is to open bids on August 28th for that, so we're anticipating hopefully getting good numbers with that. As it goes with any of our projects that have ODOT funding in them, we use construction management services from ODOT pre-qualified contractors and consultants that know how to manage those projects. So our next step to do that portion of it would be to solicit letters of interest from construction management services consultants to help us with the Haroon Road, Flower Hospital traffic signal improvement.
And this one would go to streets. Mr. Richardson to authorize this request.
I'll make a motion to authorize the administration to begin the LOI solicitation projects for the construction management services.
We moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The third one is to do with a Sylvania Avenue station, pump station replacement. So it'll go to utilities after Mr. Shaw's description.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We've talked about this one before. Our Sylvania Avenue pumping station is up for replacement. Just as a matter of fact, 2 weeks ago, we had 3 pumps that are down there. One of them failed on us, so we're down to 2 with one getting rebuilt. The timing is pretty evident that this station is starting to show its wear. So we're ready to move forward with that. I believe Mr. Hayna mentioned he wasn't interested in going 40 feet below grade anymore. Would not be going it below grade. So we're ready to move forward with our design process on this one as well. We did do a joint cooperation agreement with Sylvania Township where they're contributing $200,000 towards this project, which is great. But we're ready to get started on the design, and that's what the letter of interest process will get us started with.
Mr. McCann.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Need a motion authorizing.
Oh, I'd like to, yeah, so moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Second.
Moved and seconded to authorize solicitation for engineering design services. It's the Sylvania Avenue Pump Station Replacement Project. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We're now up to agenda item 19, which has to do with the former pool bathhouse renovations. I've reviewed the plans for this. The filter room and pumps was successfully completed before the start of the year. The bathhouse improvements have been held until after the swim season, which is coming up. Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The scope of work for this project includes modernizing the men's and women's restroom facilities, making sure that they meet with all the ADA requirements that goes with that. The multi-purpose room facility is going to be upgraded for gatherings and parties. And then a full upgrade and modernizing of their food prep and concession areas. And then all of the necessary electrical and HVAC stuff that goes with those improvements. The estimated construction cost is $383,698.50. We're very fortunate to get an Ohio Department of Natural Resources capital improvement grant for $200,000. That's about over half of the cost. We have another $100,000 of this improvement project. That's a reappropriation of state capital funds that was allocated for Somo Flats. We've been successful in moving that $100,000 over to this. So that leaves us with a balance of about $84,000 that will be cost shared on a 50-50 basis with Sage-Yard. So that's kind of how the funding of the project sets up. The plans are done. We're ready to move forward. So we would request authorization to advertise for bids.
2 comments about this one. This is one we went to bat with the State Capital Improvement Fund a couple of years ago, and this was to fulfill a commitment that the city made with Sage-Yard to improve both the pool operation, which we did in the filter and pumps, and the bathhouse before they take more full responsibility for the maintenance of those facilities. So this is an older commitment that we are making good on. We're very fortunate to have all those funds. And then in relation to the comment about the plan, right now, if you walk in there, the men's locker room's to the right and the ladies is to the left. Both will be to the left now. They are being more efficient. There was a lot of wasted space in the men's locker room in particular, and the space of the men's locker room will be used for an enhanced community room so you can have birthday parties and things like that there now. It will make the facility more useful. I'm sure Mrs. Westfall is aware of all that. However, I am looking to Ms. Dow to authorize the clerk to, a motion to authorize the clerk to request bids.
I move that the council be authorized to advertise for bids for the permanent pool bathhouse renovation project.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. What's your schedule for these bidding and improvements, Joe?
Yep, we're looking to have a contractor awarded and ready to go starting November 1st. That gives them 6 months to get the work completed all the way through the winter. We can do a lot of work during the winter months and have it open, or at least their work completed by April 30th, about a month in front of the start of the pool season. So that's the goal.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
For now, agenda item 20, this is ordered legislation, a resolution of council to support the Sage-Yard levy, to replace 2 levies into one, and declare an emergency to do that. Mrs. Westfall.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce resolution number 10-2024. All members having received copies, I read by title only. A resolution of the council of the city of Sylvania supporting Sylvania Area Joint Recreation District's request to replace 2 levies totaling 1.25 mils. I move passage of resolution number 10-2024 as an emergency measure.
Second.
Moved and seconded for passage of resolution number 10, 2024 as an emergency matter. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and resolution 10, 2024 is enacted as an emergency measure. Agenda item 21 is a referral to the Planning Commission. This has to do with a utility plant addition and improvement, which is on the back, the east side of Flower Hospital.
So it's not.
Came back, I'm sorry, we're setting the public hearing date. The Plan Commission reviewed this at their previous meeting, and recommended your approval. Again, we had the architect, we had 2 people from the architect, we had 2 from the construction manager, 1 from Flower Hospital. It actually cleans up some of the backside of Flower Hospital. They are maintaining the ability to have circulation, vehicular circulation all the way around. It does not preclude that. We originally thought this would be set for September the 16th, but the clerk is now recommending October 7th be set for the public hearing.
We have one at 7 currently, 7 PM also,
I think,
that we set earlier.
right, I think maybe
What-
one can
What's the
set
hearing
it
on
so-
what's that, 7?
Mercurio one.
Mercurio.
Okay.
Maybe you set this one at 7:15.
I think we'll set this at 7, and as soon as we're done, we'll just go right to it.
We'll both set at 7 o'clock.
Yeah, I would move that we establish a public hearing on SUP 3-2024 for 7 o'clock on October 7th.
Second.
Moved and seconded to set that public hearing date for October the 7th. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Up to agenda item 22. This is a request from the Ohio Department of Liquor Control for element 112. Chief, any comments about this one?
No, we haven't had any problems with the element, and it appears that it's a name change on the permit, so.
Yeah, it's interesting, Element Acquisition LLC. They're going to be making a change to the new owner as soon as their new facility is available for Madeline's on South Main. We need a motion not to request a local hearing. Mr. Fry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll make a motion to not request a public hearing for the transfer of the D1, D2, D3 liquor permits from Element 112 LLC to Element Acquisition LLC.
Moved and seconded not to request a local hearing for this liquor permit. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We're now up to the then and now certificates that I referred to earlier. Mr. Schroyer is on family vacation, he could not be here, so I discussed these with him. He wanted me to say that every one of these are in the budget. There is no impact on the budget as a result of these. It's just that the actual invoice amounts could not be determined in advance. It will be charged against the appropriate budget item. So we need to do this for any item over $3,000. Again, you can see the largest one is for Motorola Solutions and police radios, $82,000. And a quick adding of the other ones for Lucas County electronic monitoring added up to about $72,000 or so. Altogether, they add up to $1,413,000. Mr. McCann, you're looking at me like you have a question.
Yes, on the court, or on the monitoring.
Electronic monitoring.
Electronic monitoring, is that in the budget?
Yes, it is, but the number of people wearing them varies each couple of weeks. So that's why we get a different number. It's in the budget, it's estimated in the budget, and I have no indication that we are exceeding the budget.
Thank you.
We need a motion to approve these then and now certifications. Mr. Fry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll make a motion to approve the then and now certifications from the memo Mr. Schroyer, the Director of Finance, sent out as of August 6th, 2024.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve these. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and these then and now certifications are approved. We're up to 24. Are there any additional committee reports to be made at this time? Or committee referrals, agenda item 25. Under the information items, you have the meeting minutes from last week at the Board of Architectural Review and the Planning Commission, and also your second quarter management reports for putting with your previous ones, putting in the binder, however you want to handle that. So with that, we are at the end.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question for you. I don't know if this came up at the Board of Architectural Review, but, do you know when the Mayberry Pharmacy is gonna open up there?
Ask me that
The
again.
Mayberry Pharmacy, when it's gonna open up there?
No, that was not on either agenda. I do not have that answer.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I might know something more about that.
Okay, okay, very good.
Sure.
There's also something called the Sylvania Pharmacy that's been advertising as well. I don't think they're the same thing.
They may be, there's a group of pharmacists that are opening new pharmacies around the community, greater Northwest Ohio, kind of a replacement for some of the other pharmacies that are closing.
That one's by Sophos, Mayor, on last week.
Yeah. But it may or may not be the same group, but it's a different pharmacy than one. This is Westfall.
But the Mayberry is part of a group, they have more than one. The pharmacists are, and there's 3 or 4 that I know of that they're opening.
Okay. I did travel in the state of Michigan over the weekend, and I saw at least 15 Rite Aids, all with the same signage that we have. Pharmacy closing.
Thank you, Walgreens.
With that, we are at the end of our agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn? So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and this council stands adjourned until our next meeting 15 days from today on Tuesday, September the 3rd at 7:30 PM in these council chambers. Thank you for sticking with us.